Okay, here we go. Um, Hello, Mew. How are you? I appreciate you guys asking me to do this. That's very kind of you. Um, it's yeah, it's flattering. So I appreciate that. Um, right. Let's just get right to it because I'm awkward enough in real life, so I'll try not to be awkward in this video as much as humanly possible. Your questions. Matthew Polaris Reyes asks, who is your favorite Mew member besides me? Also, are you inspired by Lil B, the bass to God? Favorite Mew member. That's hard. I don't know if you guys know this, but I get so many notifications from Mew, and I tried to turn them off once, and they came back suddenly, and so I'm constantly getting updates from Mew, and I read all the threads, and I don't know, it's become a huge time suck for me in a good way, I guess, in an enjoyable way. Um, I like all the greats. Bilal, really fun to read. Um, uh, Ann Serber just moved to Wesleyan. Congrats. We got Alex Ford, of course. We got, of course, Matthew here. Classic. Um, the whole Willem fiasco. Amazing. I don't even know what to say. You're all beautiful people, and I enjoy reading the stuff you post online. Yeah. Am I inspired by Lil B the Bass God? No, sorry. He's interesting. He's a really interesting force in the universe. Um, but I don't actually listen to music, as I've said. I don't know. So, but I'm sure I will. I'm sure when he publishes a book, I'll buy it and I'll read it. Ryan Bridges asks, is Skrillex dubstep or bro step? And what is bro step? Let's think, is Skrillex dubstep? I don't know. To be honest, the whole dubstep thing kind of left me behind. I really liked Burial, that Untrue Burial record. I really liked that record. I heard that was dubstep when it first came out, so I was like, cool. Dubstep is this like really melancholy, sort of almost minimalist electronic music. Uh, I've I haven't really listened to a whole lot of it, but nothing else I've heard sounds like that. So apparently, I just like Burial, and I don't really know what dubstep is. Skrillex has won musical awards, and I haven't. So he's got to be doing something right, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I think I was at a gym and they were playing it and dudes were working out and I think those dudes were bros, so I would assume that it's bro step. And just the word saying the word bro step makes me laugh. So thanks for bringing that up. In answer, I don't know. This is going to be a horrible. This whole thing is going to be horrible. By the way, I wish I was more like Anthony Fantano. I thought his went really well. This is going to be a disaster. Um, okay, more. Sebastian Christopher Burgess asks, your Giles Corey album inspired me to be more open with my feelings through music. I know a lot of your story, but is there an exact reason why you're so depressed at the time? And is any of Death Consciousness fueled by the same feelings? Um, I'll take the last part first. Death Consciousness, the Navyalar self-titled record, and the Giles Corey record, to me, are all one thing. Um, we joke that it's a trilogy, but to me, they all deal with the same part of my life, sort of this really kind of 5-year period. Um, Death Consciousness was written right after my father died. He died of a heart attack very suddenly. Um, and Have a Nice Life had been around before then, and some of that material was around before he died. But what most people think of as Have a Nice Life, the sound of that music, the kind of sort of new wave influences, the sort of depressing tone of it, really started right after that time. So Death Consciousness is about that. Navyalar is about the period immediately following Death Consciousness, which is really when I experienced a really dark, um, sort of depressing period of my life where I felt very hopeless. And in that sort of time in my life, the relationship I had with the woman I loved kind of fell apart. And Giles Corey is kind of about that aspect of it. And so those things are all connected for me. All those events in my life feel like the same event. Um, and so those records kind of deal with that period. And to me, they're all fueled by the kind of same uh, emotional states. I think they all kind of show a different part of what being depressed is really like. Um, so yeah, that's a good question. I hope people are open with their emotions and music. It's why music is important to me, and I think it's what makes music good. Um, Liam Shepard asks, "Where did your inspiration for Death Consciousness come from, and do you have any future plans for Giles Corey?" Um, I kind of answered part of that. My inspirations for Death Consciousness were, besides my emotional state and what was going on in my life, I took a trip to Europe the year before we started working on Death Consciousness a lot, and that's kind of what influenced a lot of the imagery and sort of medieval stuff that kind of goes through that record visually. But then inspirational in terms of music, I mean, my big influences are Sisters of Mercy, Joy Division, My Bloody Valentine, Smiths. Those bands are the bands I've listened to more than probably any other band other than Nirvana when I was in middle school or high school or whenever it came out. I love everything those bands did, and their aesthetic has a huge effect on me. Um, but that said, I kind of came to those bands late in life, so it's interesting. To be honest, I don't know where a lot of my musical touchstones come from. None of the music I really listened to as a kid or growing up really sounded like that, but those are the big influences on that record, definitely. Willem Lockhart asks, what is your standpoint on the intentional use of lo-fi or hi-fi? And what would you consider to be a piece of underproduction as well as overproduction? Please give an example of both. My standpoint on the intentional use of lo-fi or hi-fi. Obviously, a lot of the stuff we make at Enemies List is very lo-fi, and that's primarily because of expense and because that's what we know how to do. But with that said, I don't think we had infinite money that I would make music that sounds completely different. I think that as recording techniques all have a place. They all have a time where it's appropriate, a time when, anything you can do production-wise can improve or detract from the message that the music is trying to convey from the musical ideas that are kind of hidden in that, and it all kind of depends. I mean, to be totally honest, there might come a point where we need to make a really hi-fi recording in order to accurately or adequately, I should say, express a musical idea. I don't know how to do that even if I wanted to, so it's sort of not an issue, but there's a time and place for everything in music. Even things I don't particularly respond to most of the time, just personally. An example of underproduction and overproduction. Obviously, all of our stuff is really underproduced, and there's a lot of, I mean, this is sort of a cop-out to talk about our own stuff, but a lot of people comment on how shitty our recording is, and it is, and sorry, that's all I know how to do. The room that I'm in right now is where all of our music is recorded, although Death Conscious was actually recorded in it. I hadn't moved here yet, but same setup. In fact, a lot of Death Consciousness was recorded through the pinhole mic in my laptop because I didn't know any better. And so yeah, I get why people don't like that, but it is what it is. In terms of overproduction, I mean, I think most pop is overproduced. Um, Pretty much anything you'll hear on the radio is overproduced. It's overproduced to the point where it doesn't feel real. There's no emotional impact for me because it doesn't sound like anyone can breathe in those songs. And it's just not a style I relate to. Bit of a cop out answer, but as I mentioned before, I know nearly nothing about music and have heard a tiny fraction of the bands that you guys have heard. So sorry. Um, Moving on. Aaron Sheehan asks, "Are you ready for the roughneck bass?" Always, always, please. I'm ready. I was born ready. Gerardo Martinez asks if you could see, excuse me, if you could see any artist, dead or alive, naked, which one you could choose? If I could see any artist naked, if I could see any artist naked, maybe if I just repeat the question to myself, an idea will come to me. Um, you know who I kind of have a thing for is Anais Nin. I don't know if you guys know her, but she's sort of like an author, kind of hung out in that cool kind of Paris, uh, like 50s kind of thing. It's kind of hanging out with Henry Miller. Um, she is a sexy lady in terms of, she's attractive, but even her books are like really sensual. It was kind of a thing for her. So Anais Nin, that's my answer. Okay. That was Gerardo Martinez. I said that, right? Yeah, sure. Bilal Arya asks, Arya? Bilal Arya asks, what is your opinion on the furry and pony fandom, and have you ever fapped to furries? I have never fapped to furries. What is my opinion on it? The My Little Pony thing is weird. I actually work at an after-school program part of the day, every day, and one of the kids, and this is like seventh grade, so a seventh grade girl had a Brony shirt. And I was kind of like, I kind of did this, and she was like, "What?" And I was like, "Your shirt." I don't know. Uh, to each his own, man. Human sexuality is varied and diverse, and I say go for it. If you like it, go for it. Brogan Lurgit and Zach Gorman ask, what is your dream collaboration? My dream collaboration. Of course, I would love to work with Morrissey. I feel like it would be a complete disaster. But I just think it would be you'd have the best stories to tell, because of course it's going to be horrible, and it's like you're just going to have stuff to talk about forever, right? I'd like to do something with Aaron Turner from Hydra Head, who I actually talk with every now and then, and he was actually, we were just starting out. He was really supportive of us, and kind of like every now and then when I have a question about running a label or something, I kind of ask him. He's awesome, dude. He would be really cool to work with. I hope this sound is registering on this thing. As I've mentioned, I know nothing about recording sound, so I hope it's working out. Okay, Melvin Valiente asks, I'm sure you've encountered many hardships during your lifetime. Has there ever been someone in your life who's the single most motivating force in your life? Why that person? Someone in my life who's really motivating me, who's big motivation to me. I'm not sure if is this talking about artists or people in my life, like actual people that I know. Um, there are people that I know. Um, for example, I'll take a there's a guy I know named Jimmy Patterson. Right, he's a friend of he was a younger brother of a really good friend of mine in high school, and he was just from the second I met him to now just obsessed with making films. That's all he wanted to do. He wanted to be a filmmaker, and I've never met anyone that was as driven or as single minded as him, and completely confident, like no self doubt whatsoever. I mean, I am I am like this weird balance of really driven to do stuff and then completely convinced that I'm incapable of doing anything, right? And that balance is kind of holds me back all the time. And this kid had none of that. He has none of that self doubt, none of the worry. He just goes 100% all the time, and right for what he wants. And I always found that to be inspiring, even though he's so much younger. It's kind of like he's really committed. Um, I also remember kind of being in high school and reading kind of Henry Rollins written stuff and kind of getting a sense of what it means to be dedicated to something and what it kind of means to throw other parts of your life away to pursue that thing, which is what it's about.